employed, if they're not going to do that, they're going to sit around and dream up other things to do. And that's what they do. So here's what happens. The communists, the devil, they all know that you cannot conquer a working nation. You can't conquer them. Because number one, they're strong in body. Number two, they're strong in mind. And they know that what they have, they've had to work for, and they're not going to let anybody just come in and take it. They're not going to. And so World War II, we beat them. Nobody could conquer our country a generation ago. But now we live in a soft generation. A generation that doesn't work, a generation that doesn't have to fight any wars, and a generation that has nothing to do but just sit around and complain about how come they don't have everything that they want. So you know what's going to happen? Our nation, because it's getting hooked more and more upon government money, money that they didn't earn, money that they did not work for, we're fixing to be in bondage. Where do you get that from, Mike? Let me read the scripture. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 24. The hand of the diligent shall bear rule, but the slothful shall be under tribute. You know what that means? The people who are out working, they're take charge. They're in charge. The slothful are going to be under tribute. And then you stop and think about this. Okay? A situation where you are earning all of your own bread, they can't threaten you with anything. A situation where the government is giving you bread, if the government says, now in order to get this bread tomorrow, we want you to do something, we want you to receive a mark, or we want you to do this, you have to do it. You will do it because all you've known is taking bread. It's why they can't, animals that have been fed, hand-fed all of their life, they can't release them into the wild. They don't know how to do for themselves. Proverbs 12:27, the slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting. So you know what? You know what the slothful man is eating? He's eating your food. He's not eating his own. He's eating your food that you paid for. But the substance of a diligent man is precious. Proverbs 15:19, the way of a slothful man is an hedge of thorns. I think that the devil is tempting the average young person in this country with slothfulness and laziness. I really think that. I think it is a massive temptation for young people to try to get by on life without doing hardly anything. And we deal in this country, we have a massive problem among our youth where they are so used to being given everything that they have, they actually get mad at the thought of you as a parent or someone saying, why don't you go get a job? They get mad at you. And their way is a hedge of thorns. You know what thorns are in the Bible, don't you? It's the reign of the Antichrist. But the way of the righteous is made plain. Proverbs 18:9. And by the way, take these verses now. You're saying, yeah, amen, Pastor Mike. I work for a living. I don't like everybody doing everything for me. Take these verses now and apply them to your spiritual life. Okay? Oh, you work all day. And you're tired of these bums sitting around with their pants pulled down, their hat on backwards, eating off my money. Really? Okay. I go. Apply this now to your spiritual life. The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in hunting. Listen to me. If your sole source of Bible knowledge is from the pulpit, no wonder our churches are the way they are now. You know what God gave you the ability to do? Feed yourself out of the Bible. The way of the slothful man is a hedge of thorns. Think about it. He that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. Think about it. Slothfulness, Proverbs 19:15, slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep. Think about where the church is right now. Because their sole source of spiritual food came from the government. It's wow. The government and the Vatican and the pulpits of America have all adopted the same principle. We are your parents. We're going to take very good care of you. You won't have to do anything. We'll just give you what we want you to have. That's the government handing out food programs, handing out money, handing out this, handing out that, and people who can work for it don't. And then we have the Vatican, who says, "Oh, that Bible is so hard to understand, and you probably won't be able to do it. Why don't you just let us tell you? Why don't you just let us give it to you, and it'll be okay? You can trust us. We're the priests." Same thing in the American pulpits outside of the Catholic Church. The pastors who are constantly telling people, now I know, you see, since you don't have a Hebrew and a Greek Bible, there's just some things that you'll just never know. And so don't worry about it. I'm going to go do all the study, and I'm going to do all the work, and I'm going to give it to you out of the pulpit. And you just believe whatever I tell you to. No wonder we have what's going on in the church, is that the average church man is not feeding himself. He's being mouth-fed by the prophets and the priests of the last days. A slothful man hideth his hand in his bosom. Or, I'm not even going to illustrate it. Okay? Nowadays, you know, you can tell these lazy guys, don't you? They walk around with their pants halfway pulled down and their hand run down in their pants. The slothful man hideth his hand in his bosom, and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. He is so lazy. He won't even pick his hand up to put food in his mouth. He just sits there and goes, "Why don't you feed me?" And that's your average church member. Proverbs 21:25, the desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. He coveteth greedily all the day long. You see what happens? He coveteth greedily all the day long, but the righteous giveth and spareth not. Proverbs 22, verse 13, the slothful man saith, there is a lion without, and I shall be slain in the streets. And I had to think about that for a while. And that's all he said. That's almost like, oh, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we'll die. No big deal. Proverbs 24, verse 30, I went by the field of the slothful. And this is, now remember, if you refuse to feed yourself spiritually, and you're going to rely upon the pulpit to feed you, this is you. I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding, and lo, it is all grown over with thorns. I'm just going to show you this. When God cursed Adam, what did he curse him with? He said, I'm going to curse the ground. Now you stop and think about this. I'm going to curse the ground. So that Adam, instead of everything just growing and you eating without having to do anything, I'm going to make you work. By the sweat of your face, you're going to work and you're going to eat. When your hand comes to your mouth with a morsel of bread, it's going to be because you worked your tail off to keep the weeds and the thistles and the thorns weeded out of your garden so that you and your family would have enough to eat come next winter. And I'm going to make you work for it. So what happens to the guy who won't work? The thorns grow up. This is why in what they call impoverished areas of our country, areas where they are receiving massive amounts of government money, this is why these are the most crime-ridden, sin-infested areas of the entire world. And it has nothing to do with their race, their parents, their skin color. Doesn't have anything to do with that. You go into poor white neighborhoods down in the country, you go into poor black neighborhoods, they're the same thing. In the poor white neighborhoods, you have meth cookers, child abusers, pedophiles, dope heads, drunkards, you have fornicators, you have stealers, you have everything in the world going on. Same thing you have in the black communities. It's everywhere. And what is the condition? It's not their race. It's not their gender. It's the fact that they were lazy. And the government bailed them out. The government fixed their problems for them so they didn't have to do for themselves. Now they got time to go cook more methamphetamine. And this is your average church member too. Churches grown over with thorns. Why? They're too lazy. Nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction. Yet a little sleep, and a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man. Proverbs 26:16, the sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. And so you watch this. He's not as stupid as you think he is. He knows exactly that the more in government assistance and bailouts and help that he gives in certain communities, he knows he's going to get their vote. He knows for a fact that they're not going to vote for fiscal conservatives. He knows that for a fact. Proverbs 6:6, go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and as thy want as an armed man. Proverbs 13:4, the soul of the sluggard desireth, and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. Proverbs 24, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Hey, it's plowing time. Go out there. Hey, it's too cold out there. Have you ever seen your kids do that? It's cold out there. Or they come in and it's too hot. I can't do anything outside. It's too hot. The news guy said that I was going to have a heat stroke, and I think it's coming on now. And your grandparents never had air conditioning. Think of that. And they didn't die. They're still alive to torture you with stories about how it used to be in the old days. And while we cannot work, we can play video games. Take a look at this one. A guy wrote me, and it was a neat email. And let me see if I can find his website here. He used to write articles on video games and how good they were. And he said, God got a hold of me. And he said, now I'm seeing that it's not good. And he wrote a review on a game, part of the Elder Scrolls, called Skyrim. Now, I want you to get where I'm going here. Your kids can't work because it's too hot or it's too cold, or the government said that they can't work, it's endangering their health or whatever, and they like the reasons why they can't work. So what are they going to do? They're going to sit in the house and play video games all day. And here's what he said about this particular game. He said the Bible talks about Skyrim to an extensive degree. He said if you have a KJV Bible, turn to Revelation 12, verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. He said, here you see Satan clearly associated with dragons. Incidentally, the Skyrim's plot, gameplay, and overall feel revolve around dragons as well. Here's some examples. Your character is called the Dragonborn, having the soul and blood of a dragon and the body of a human or a humanoid. The cover has an image of a dragon, and the collector's edition had a giant dragon statue as well. The game has its own language and alphabet for dragons. By the way, the angels have a language. It's called Enochian. John Dee, the occultist back in the 1500s, found it out. That's an unknown secret language that nobody knows what it means. And he said the game has its own language and alphabet for dragons, mysteriously created when a designer for the game went and brewed mead for a weekend. I think mead, isn't that like honey-based beer or honey-based alcohol or something like that? But anyway, you can read the rest of his thing here. It's noobproguide.wordpress.com. noobproguide, noobproguide.wordpress.com. And I appreciate him sending that to me. That just kind of fit right in with what we were dealing with today. Let's